Well, it's the morning once again, and this time I'm at a different lake. This one is Lake Bracciano, I think. And this time, instead of being surrounded by little cats and kittens, I'm actually surrounded by a whole bunch of ducks, and actually quite a big goose as well, who seems to think that he is a duck or she is a duck as well. And actually over there, I'm not sure if you can see, there's a bunch of little ducklings which were just scattered about my feet, wanting some food or a scratch or something. And so, yeah, I'm probably only about 20 kilometers now from Jasper's house. So I had a pretty big day yesterday. Probably did about 120 kilometers, I think, for a bunch of reasons, and so I didn't realize that Jasper lives so far out of Rome. So I thought he was actually closer to the city, but because he's got quite a big house, I think he's he's living, probably 20 or 30 kilometers from the city centre. Which means, because I did such a big day yesterday, it's only about 20 kilometers from where I am now to his house, which is a little bit silly because I probably could have just ridden another 20 k's and slept there last night. And actually, when I messaged him, he said, I can just come pick you up if you want, and save you having to camp another night. But no, I wanted to finish off the voyage on the bike the way I started. Otherwise I would have felt like I had cheated a little bit. So I'll cycle the rest of the way today. So today's kind of a rest day, I guess. It will be a pretty short one. This morning Louisa and I, and maybe you can see her somewhere, she's swimming somewhere over here. We'll have a bit of a swim in the lake, and then I'll cycle to Jasper's house a bit later in the afternoon, and I'm not really sure where she's going to go. I think she's going to get an Airbnb or something and spend a few days in Rome as well. But yeah, it's a bit funny because yesterday we actually kind of decided to go in different directions, or rather cycle at different paces, because she's been feeling quite unwell with all of her injuries, and I think she just really needed a rest day. And I really wanted to get to Jasper's place by like Tuesday afternoon, because he's got Wednesday off work, so we can spend Wednesday together at least. And yeah, that would have meant going about 100 k's yesterday, and she didn't think she could do it, because there was quite a few big hills and more gravel sections that her bike just wasn't really set up for. So in the morning we did end up leaving together, and we went to a supermarket and got some new stocks for the next couple of days. And then basically after that, we were both feeling, I don't know, a bit strange. I think I was feeling a bit, what's the word? I don't know. I just felt weird about having to continue cycling at her pace when I wanted to go at my pace. I just had a bit of a timeline, I guess, and well, maybe it was a self-imposed one, I'm not really sure, but I was just kind of feeling like I needed to cover a lot of distance, and I just didn't think we would be able to do that together, and she agreed. So it was a bit weird and a bit sad in the morning, saying goodbye. Because we've been cycling together for the last, 6 days or so, and I guess you get used to cycling with someone else, and used to the company. Nice to have someone to share the experience with. And so yeah, it was a bit sad saying goodbye, and a bit sad under the circumstances because she wanted to keep going, but she didn't really feel like she could because of her bike and because of her injuries. So unfortunately that was the way it was, and so we said goodbye and agreed to maybe meet again in Rome. And so I set off from the supermarket and then followed the route which headed straight up a really steep gravel road. So I had to get off a number of times and push to get up that hill. So I think she made completely the right decision not to come, because it would have been really tough on her tyres, and it was really tough for me as well. So soon, like only after like half an hour, I was already dripping with sweat, and I found another fountain and just splashed water all over myself and dunked my hat in and refilled all my water, which was a great respite, but still I was pretty knackered already. And then shortly after that, the track continued up the biggest hill of the day, which I know took me probably half an hour or so to climb. And from memory, it was a lot of gravel, but a lot of sealed as well, so it wasn't too bad. But once I got to the top, and that was quite a moment really, because I knew that was kind of the last big hill of this leg of the trip before I got to Rome. And so I got to the top and was enjoying the view a little bit, and there was like a kind of a nice little extra hill at the top, which went over, and then there was a kind of a loop which went around the town, and then you were supposed to go back down the other side of the mountain. And so after I'd done the second pinnacle and done the loop around, I came to a closed road, and there was a big excavator in the middle and a bunch of like construction workers packing up and putting the excavator on the back of a truck. So I thought, instead of trying to climb up that hill again and go down another way, I would just waited about 20 minutes. They packed up the excavator, it drove off, and then I tried to pass through, and they still wouldn't let me through. They still said the road was closed, and I was really frustrated by this because I had waited and I didn't see any reason why I couldn't go through. There was nothing happening, but still they wouldn't let me, so I had to climb up the hill again and then back down another way, and I took a wrong turn, and I was quite frustrated. And I think partially because of the diversion, which wasn't signed anywhere, but also partially because I was just feeling a bit weird about cycling by myself again and saying goodbye to Louisa. So that kind of ruined the moment, to be honest, and I was a bit annoyed that I had let that ruin the moment as well. But anyway, there was another steep descent down with sealed and gravel roads, which was fun, and I was riding for another half an hour or so after that, and I don't really know what happened, but I tried to change gear, and there was a bit of a clunk, and then there was a lot of squeaking and squealing, and that's not a good sign. So I started freaking out, and I pulled over straight away, and I had a look, and my front derailleur had kind of twisted, and it was like rubbing against my wheel. And at this point I was thinking, oh crap, I mean I've broken my derailleur, or my gear cables snapped again, and I knew that was going to be pretty tricky because I didn't think I was anywhere near a bike shop, and there was quite a few hills to do and all that stuff. So I did figure out that the cable wasn't snapped, and somehow it had just become loose, so maybe it had hit a rock or something. And so I pulled over and took all the bags off and flipped the bike over, and was able to adjust it with the screw that attaches the derailleur to the frame. So I adjusted it so that it wasn't rubbing on the wheel or the chain anymore, and that seemed to work okay. So I did a bit of a test ride, and then I kept riding for a bit, and it seemed to be alright. So I thought I'd fix the problem, and I felt quite proud of that because front derailleurs are pretty tricky to work with, I think. And so I cycled it again for another hour or so, and there was more like gravel roads, and I was mostly listening to music. I didn't really know what to listen to after cycling with Louisa for so long and having someone else to kind of accompany me. But again, I was cycling up a bit of a steep road, and then I noticed my chain was rubbing again on the derailleur, which was weird because it wasn't doing that after I'd adjusted it. So I pulled over again and had another look at the derailleur, and I saw that it had become loose again, which was weird. And so I tried to tighten it up, but the screw wasn't tightening, and so pulled the screw out and looked at the thread in the derailleur itself, and actually it had stripped. So I don't know how that happened. Maybe I just tightened it too much, or maybe it was when it became loose in the first place it had stripped. I don't know. It's probably done probably about 7,000 kilometers or so on that derailleur, so maybe that just happens over time. I don't know. But basically it was stuffed, and there was really no way for me to fix it. So I looked up bike shops in the area, and luckily there was one about 10 kilometers away. So that was really good luck, and I was able to cycle there in my low gear, so it wasn't too much of an issue. There weren't too many hills, and I could kind of coast down the big ones. And so I got to the bike shop, and luckily there was no one else waiting, and they just took me in straight away. And the mechanic, who didn't really speak English, he put the bike up on the stand and had a look at it, and he very quickly diagnosed the problem, and basically just put a screw in with a nut on the end, so he was able to tighten it using the nut instead of having to replace the whole derailleur, which was cool. And then that only took probably, I don't know, half an hour, maybe a bit longer. So it wasn't actually as bad as I thought it was going to be. And I was able to actually keep riding after that with the derailleur working really well again. And so at this point, I don't know how many Ks I'd done, maybe 80. So I messaged Louisa to see where she was, because I thought she's probably overtaken me again at this point, considering that she went on the highway, which was a lot flatter, and she probably didn't have any issues with her derailleur. And turns out she was behind me, but not too far behind. So the next town I got to, I checked where the nearest like camping site was, and there was this one down on another lake, which seemed like a good idea to kind of finish off this leg of the trip, to sleep on the lake again. I was hoping we could camp right on the beach like we did the night before last, and catch the sunrise again, but nah, we were a bit off the beach, so we didn't get to see that. But it is a nice place to go for a swim, which I'll do straight after this probably, and have another coffee. And yeah, it was nice that Louisa was actually able to join at the campsite last night. So we had a pizza and a couple of beers together at the restaurant, which was just a really nice way to kind of seal the end of our week or so of riding together through Italy, and also the end of my leg of this trip from Amsterdam to Rome. So yeah, it's this leg has been about 2,500 kilometers, with I think about 15,000 meters of elevation, and in total from Trondheim I think I've done about just over 5,000 kilometers now, and nearly 35,000 meters of elevation. So it's quite a lot. I did some calculations this morning, and I've averaged about 90 kilometers per day. Had about 10 rest days. Took me about 56 days from Trondheim to get here. plus the 10 days of cycling, resting, sorry, so it's about 66 days in total. With about just under maybe 600 meters of climbing each day. So it's been a pretty big effort, and I'm still kind of coming to terms with the whole trip so far. Like, so much has happened, and I'm tired, but I'm feeling really good, and I'm excited for the next part of the journey through the Balkans and eventually over to Turkey, which is the final destination. So it's pretty exciting. I'm thinking I might have to get rid of some stuff, because this last week in Italy with all these hills has been really quite tough with all the luggage I've been carrying, and I've been really jealous of all the gravel riders I've been seeing with the lightweight setup. So I'm thinking I might go back to a saddlebag and then just try and do it really lightweight. I'm kind of craving going back to minimalism and just having a couple of things on me and not carrying all this crap that I haven't really been using anyway. You know, I thought at the start that I would be doing more like sightseeing in places and hanging out places for a bit longer. And so I bought a few extra things as kind of like luxury items, but I haven't really been using them, and I haven't really felt the need to be doing any of that stuff, to be honest. I really have been enjoying just riding, and I think I'd like to do more of that and do it in a more do it in a faster way. So yeah, I reckon I'll get rid of some stuff and and try a different way of cycling for the next month and a bit on the way to Turkey. So that's exciting. And yeah, I'll head to Jasper's place today. Probably spend a few days there, and then I'll catch a ferry over to Split in Croatia, probably on Friday or Saturday. So you probably won't hear any more updates from me until then. So yeah, keep your eyes peeled for the next installment, which will be starting most likely in Split. So yep, that's it for this leg to Rome.